beginning, revisiting why it is I need a new workbench. This is my interpretation of the Paul Sellers presentation. It's the first thing on his YouTube site. I think he does. And so I do it in his order. First, to the home center to buy the best stock. Spend some time looking for straight stuff. But it's impossible to get straight stuff. So what I really looked for was stock with few of those knots. Knots are the cause of so much distress with hand tools, especially in pine or fir, these evergreen trees. They're rock hard. And so they chip blades, or they make the blades really dull fast. And they also have a tendency to cause, as in hardwood, that's where you find the cause of warping. And you can't avoid it even here. And here on display is my love-hate relationship with the transitional plane. When it comes to joinery, getting those high spots off, I find the 22, I think that's what this is, the Stanley 22, to be the best thing in the world. But as soon as you get wider stock, and I think this might be too wide, it gets to be clogged and hatred rises in my gullet. Now, if you were paying attention earlier at that close-up shot, you saw evidence that the good people at the home center aren't exactly gentle with this wood. It's framing wood. It's not meant to make tabletops with it, but where the machinery crushes the wood counts as warping. You have to address it if you want to make a tabletop with it. And as you surely know, a plane doesn't see low spots. You know, like there's a philosophy of planing here. You're not planing out low spots. You're planing out high spots, and the crushed points cause 90% of the wood to become a high spot. And so you have to get all of it down to the low spot, the crushed spot, the warping, right? Now, there's good news and there's bad news with respect to this. In the process of working down all the high spots, you're going to end up with a nice square edge. Now, eventually we're going to glue together 6 of these boards for each top, right? There's going to be 2 tops divided by a well, okay? And you can't have these corners that these framing pieces come with, these rounded corners. You have to have very square corners. The good news is you're going to have square corners. The bad news is it takes a lot of work to get down there, and I'll tell you, I worked pretty hard to get it down to square, and I didn't work hard enough because, as you'll see in the next video, when I laminated this, when I glued the 6 pieces together, I still had a lot of work to do to scrub it flat. Not just true, but flat, because I had all those ridges where the rounding of the corners are. I just didn't do it enough. And I thought I'd get by with it. Lazy thinking again. Lazy thinking. Yeah. There's not much going on in the old noggin right about now. I wish I had something clever to tell you, but I don't. So just, enjoy the sound of metal on wood. Someone mentioned to me not long ago how boring this process is. Well, that's the point. To me, all of this is therapeutic. Along with the notion of, as I've said before, along with the notion that I don't want to lose a digit in the blink of an eye. So I use hand tools. Miller's Falls, number 14. It's a jack plane. And the red paint is supposed to indicate something as to its provenance and its value. But I'll just tell you, it's not that valuable. That's why I have it. It's a perfectly fine jack plane, but it's not very collectible. I'm always amazed after working so much that I could produce so many shavings and have so much wood still left to process. Also, I'm sure that that's a metaphor for a life. All the work we do. And it's just a striving after the wind, as the old good book says, or you could say, from the cabinet maker's perspective here, it's all just making shavings. It's evil, but it's the truth. The evil comes really from thinking that you've done something when you really haven't done anything. And the idea that it's yours when it really is somebody else's. Somebody's going to take this from you and give it to somebody else. That's the way of the world. Death and taxes, in other words. The thing to do, really, instead of despairing when you're making shavings, either right now, like I am with wood and a piece of steel, or whether it's all the labor of your life that you find is just chasing the wind, the thing to do is actually to enjoy it, because it's something to do before you shuffle off, you know? We're all going to shuffle off, and you don't know when. It's random a lot of times. Chances are you'll live a long time, but you're still going to shuffle off, and you'll look back and say, just like everyone else, how fast it all went. So no, it doesn't take a long time, really, to do this kind of work. It goes so fast. But it's never enough. But don't despair. Not even when you hit the knots like I'm doing right there. All right, let's put aside all that existential nonsense and get back to the task at hand. And that task is truing and flattening these wide sides of the boards. These are the faces that are going to be glued together to form the top. And so you want as much of the surface area touching as possible. See, it's a different concept from forming a tabletop with a hardwood table, where you join the edges. These are joining the wide sides, and the edges make the top. And the bad news is that 90% of the wide side is going to be a high spot. That's all right. It's good for you. Now, my name is John David Duke Jr. I am the wool-gathering woodworker. May all your tools be sharp, and may the grain always rise in your direction.